If you have deals that keep slipping or stalling or ghosting, if you've got prospects that are saying like, hey, we need to sync internally and then we'll get back to you, or we're still thinking about it, or if you are working harder than your buyers are, those are signs that we as sellers, we don't have a closing problem, we have a discipline problem. This is what I call scattered selling. I'm Kristen, and over the past decade, I've closed 6- and 7-figure deals in B2B sales. And I've worked with everyone from startups to enterprise clients. And here's what most people won't tell you. Scattered selling costs you more than time. It costs you credibility, momentum, and money. Today, I'm walking you through a framework that absolutely changed the way I sell. I developed it over a decade of selling, and it's called LEAD, L-E-A-D. And it's the difference between hoping that deals close and knowing that they will. So some quick context before we dive in. This is not theory. This came from closing hundreds of deals for millions of dollars and reverse engineering the process that buyers use to buy. So let's break it down. The L of lead the sale stands for lead. Our buyers are confused. They are overwhelmed. They are juggling multiple stakeholders. They are comparing multiple vendors. And above all, they are terrified of making the wrong decision because that can cost them their career. So if we are waiting for them to tell us what's next and how this should be done, how an evaluation should be run, we've already lost control and we're already behind. Leading at this stage means we set the agenda for the calls. We tell them what other buyers typically want to know, who other buyers typically involve. We define milestones. We let them know what successful buyers do at this stage. We let them know what successful buyers use as criteria when they're evaluating a product or service in this space. The best closers are not talkers. They are the best guides. They make buying feel easy and natural as taking the next step, not overwhelming and completely confusing. I'd like to use the analogy of Sherpas here. When expert climbers are looking to summit Everest or other really high peaks, they are expert climbers. They are expert athletes, but they are not experts on the mountain. The Sherpa is the expert on the mountain. Our buyers are like the expert climbers. Our buyers are the experts in how to do their job, but they are not the expert in how to buy our thing. We are the Sherpa. We are the expert guide. We are the guide to this mountain of evaluating this product and or solution, right? This is where we are taking an experienced expert climber and helping them apply their knowledge and skills to this mountain. That's how buyers and sellers work together. So E stands for excavate pain. Typically reps ask, okay, well, what are your pain points? Or God forbid, what keeps you up at night? But they stop there. Instead, you can try something like this. So I talk to leaders in the finance space all day long, and they tell me about their struggles with problem A, problem B, and problem C. But I'm curious, how much of that sounds like your world, and what did I miss? First of all, this positions us as an expert, not just another vendor. When we tell them, hey, these are the problems I typically hear from leaders in your space, we are confirming what they hear from other leaders in the space. We're also subtly communicating that they don't need to educate us on the 101 of this space or the problems that they're looking to solve. We tell them in saying, hey, I understand problem A, B, and C are things that typically folks in your type of leadership face. That gives us instant credibility because we already understand the landscape. They know they don't have to educate us on the easy stuff, and that frees them to go deep on the deeper problems, the specific pain that they're feeling. That's where we need to excavate. We need to dig. So we set up the excavation of the pain by talk to leaders in your space. They talk to me about problems A, B, and C. How much of that sounds like your world and what did I miss? And then that sets us up to go deeper, right? When they confirm, oh yeah, we do have problem A, some of problem B, and actually then problem D didn't mention, we're really focused on that. That's where we can go deeper and excavate. That sounds like asking questions like, okay, sounds like this has been a problem for a while. What's making it urgent to try to figure out a way to solve it now? Why today instead of 3 months ago, right? Could you walk me through the ripple effects that this problem is having across the business? Could you talk to me about the number of teams that are affected or the number of executive initiatives that have been paused? How overdue are these KPIs? Is it a month late? Is it 2 quarters late? If you have a newly hired executive, you can ask them, Hey, what of that did you get hired to change or start? New executives do not get hired to keep things the same. So asking them on calls, what did you get hired to change or start, is a great way for them to unpack what's super important to them. That's what they are thinking about all day long. And actually, I've collected a whole list over a decade in sales that I call my second level pain questions. And folks that work with me as a coach get that entire list. So if we can't quantify their pain, then we can't justify their price. And that means they can't sell it internally. They can't go justify that to a CFO if we haven't helped them quantify how big this problem actually is. A of the LEAD is always reduce friction. So there are three types of buyers that show up to early calls. One is folks that are in education mode. They're just looking around. They're just getting an idea of what's out there to solve the problem. Education mode. Then we have urgent mode. What we are talking about on this call, it's their biggest problems, one of their biggest priorities. They needed it solved yesterday. And the third type is planning mode, right? This is something they need to tackle in the next year or so, but it's not super urgent. Our job is to understand that these are the three basic types of people that show up for calls, and then figure out which one we've got on the call and adjust accordingly. Then we want to teach them how to buy based on the stage that they're in. So that would sound a little something like this towards the end of an early call. Okay. Typically, when companies evaluate a product or service like this, they involve leaders from HR, operations, and finance. I understand Christine is your head of operations and Alex is your head of finance. Would it make sense to loop them in now, or is your process somehow different? Okay. We're not being pushy. We are being helpful. We are helping them think through who should be involved. What's the best time to get them involved? That position as someone who is more a consultant than a seller, more a partner than a vendor. Bottom line, huge risk here. If we aren't teaching folks how to buy, our competitors might be. That's a risk we don't want to run. And then D is de-risk to close. And there's a couple of ways that we want to de-risk deals here. We want to de-risk the deal for ourselves on the seller side. We also want to de-risk the deal on the buying side because that helps us as well. So even on the buying side, it's a win-win. Let's talk about three ways to do that. So not everyone who is a contact is a champion. Being a point of contact does not make someone a champion. We need to test it out and know who is really pulling for us, who is a champion and not just a contact. So we want to think about things like, do they work on the evaluation between meetings? Will they do, so that could be pulling some data, asking someone to pull data, bringing colleagues to a meeting, forwarding an email. There's lots of ways that they can do work asynchronously of us. It could look like, do they bring other folks into follow-ups? Do they bring other folks into evaluations? Do they get us introductions to leaders? Do they have a point of view on next steps? There's other things that can look like, but if someone that you're calling a champion isn't doing any of these things, they are not a champion. They are a contact at best and a blocker at worst. Another way to de-risk is to multi-thread our deals. And to do that successfully, we need to tailor our messaging to each stakeholder. And there are three different power levels in any organization. We have end users, managers, and executives. End users care about, does this help me do my job easier, faster, better? Managers care about, does this help my team perform against a metric we are measured on? Executives care about, does this help us reduce our risk or hit our goals? When we communicate with the different power levels of buyers on the specific things they care about, when we are multi-threading, that helps de-risk the deal on our side. And number three of ways to de-risk the deal is to tell them what comes next, also known as, how does this get done? Typically, as sellers, we can be guilty of telling buyers how to get to a signature, but not how to get to success, right? We are very clear on how they get to a DocuSign. We're not always super clear on how they get the dividends that they are really after. The reason that they are buying our product or service is not to sign something. It's to have success with something. So before signature, before we even ask them for a signature, we need to walk them through things like, how will this process go after you sign? So things like onboarding, things like training end users, things like a go live date. What are the success metrics? When does the first time they're going to meet with customer success? How often will they meet with that person? They need to meet the onboarding team. They need to meet the customer success person that will be helping them. All of these, putting those spaces with those names, helping them understand what that entire process looks like, how they go from signature to outcome. That's what's going to make them feel comfortable moving forward. That de-risks the deal for them. And so, of course, it helps de-risk the deal for us as well. Those deals don't die because buyers don't like you or because your thing doesn't work. They die because buyers become paralyzed. Our job is to help de-risk that decision so hard that saying yes feels like the least risky thing that they can do. All right, let's recap the LEAD philosophy of working deals, enterprise deals. We need to lead the deal, don't chase it. We are the experts in how to evaluate and how to do this kind of evaluation. E is excavate. We're excavating the pain that they feel that has led them to this evaluation. And we need to excavate the pain that they're feeling so we can help them understand the real cost of inaction. A is always reduce friction. And in this case, what we're talking about is communicating with the different stakeholder levels about what they specifically care about. We need to connect the dots for them, how our product or service gets them what they want. So that means whenever we're speaking to end users and when we speak to executives, we speak their language, not the reverse. Otherwise, there will be a mismatch. And then D is de-risk to close. We need to remove every reason that they have to hesitate. We need to make closing feel like the next logical, natural step into them getting the outcome that they want. Now, this is super important. This is not about working harder. This is about having a system, because when you have a system, you stop hoping and you start knowing. So if you're working in enterprise and you know that your sales process is holding you back, but you can't quite put your finger on it, we should probably talk. So check out the link in the description. No hard pitch, just a conversation about whether coaching might make sense for where you are. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.